Don't embarrass yourself. First class is for people with money, not for wannabes playing dress-up. The words dripped from Melissa Hart's mouth like venom, slicing the air sharper than the blade of her perfectly manicured nails. Her red scarf sat crisp against her white uniform, but her voice carried the raw contempt of someone who believed the uniform made her untouchable. The cabin froze. Every passenger within earshot stiffened, as though the oxygen had been sucked out of the plane. A man in 1C coughed into his hand just to cover the awkward silence. An elderly woman whispered to her husband, "My God, she actually said that." All eyes shifted toward seat 2A. Dr. Ariana Cole, billionaire CEO, sat still, regal in her beige suit. The insult should have rattled her. It would have rattled anyone. But Ariana's face didn't even twitch. She simply looked up from her tablet, her eyes cold and commanding, the way a lioness might glance at a barking dog. Calmly, without a word, she reached into her blazer. A glimmer of her diamond-encrusted watch flashed under the overhead light. Every passenger saw it. Proof of wealth, proof of power, proof of who she was. But Melissa wasn't interested in proof. Her hand shot out like a striking snake, snatching the boarding pass from Ariana's fingers. She tilted it dramatically under the cabin lights, squinting like she was exposing a forgery. Sure you do. And then came the sound. Slap. The boarding pass smacked against Ariana's chest with deliberate force, the sound reverberating through the cabin like a gunshot. Gasps erupted. Someone muttered, "No way she just did that." A businessman's phone shot up, camera already recording. Screens glowed like a constellation in the dim cabin light, witnesses arming themselves for virality. Melissa leaned in closer, her tone louder, cutting for all to hear. "Don't try to scam your way up here, honey. First class isn't for your kind," passengers exchanged nervous whispers. "She's insane. This is going viral. She has no idea who she's dealing with." But Melissa wasn't done. Her lips curled into a performance-ready grin as she pulled out her own phone, switching instantly to selfie mode. "Hey everyone, it's your girl Melissa. And guess what? We've got drama in first class tonight," she said gleefully, angling the camera to capture Ariana in frame. "Some folks think they can sneak in here like they own the skies. Not happening." Her live stream went live. The counter jumped instantly, 43, 112, 259 viewers. The comments poured in like fire. "What is this?" She slapped her ticket. LMAO. "Yo, this is gonna blow up. By the way, fam, before we dive deeper, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is right now in your country. We love seeing our global family here together. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next." "This story is just starting." Melissa angled the camera back at Ariana, smirking. "Care to explain yourself to the internet, missy?" The lens framed Ariana perfectly, but Ariana didn't argue. She didn't touch the ticket. She didn't even blink. Slowly, she leaned back in her seat, her eyes fixed on Melissa with the kind of chilling calm that made the air around her feel heavier. "You have no idea who you're talking to." Her voice was low, steady, more terrifying than a scream. Even the live stream chat faltered for a second, the audience sensing the shift in power through their screens. Then the feed exploded. "Why is she so calm?" "Bruh, she's rich AF, I can tell." "Melissa about to get wrecked." The businessman in 1C whispered into his phone camera. "This is history. Watch this blow up." Ariana's eyes flicked toward the digital clock above the galley door. 10 minutes until takeoff. Her whisper returned like a threat wrapped in silk. "You'll regret this." The countdown had begun. The sting of the slap still echoed in the cabin. Not just the sound of the boarding pass hitting Ariana's chest, but the humiliation of it. Every passenger felt it. Some looked away in discomfort. Others leaned forward, hungry for more. Melissa thrived on it. Her phone hovered high, catching every angle of her performance. The viewer counter pulsed, 347. "Aye, 822. See, folks?" Melissa's voice grew louder, dripping with disdain. "This is what happens when people think a cheap blazer and a knockoff watch can buy them a seat among the elite. Not on my plane." The comments exploded. "Dang, she's savage." No way that's a fake watch, girl! Yo, don't mess with her, she's too calm. The calm. That's what unsettled everyone. Ariana hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't touched the ticket. She hadn't even blinked when Melissa mocked her in front of hundreds of strangers online. She simply sat there, perfectly still, her dark eyes locked on Melissa like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And then she spoke. Is this how you treat your passengers? Or just the ones who don't fit your idea of first class? The question wasn't loud, but it sliced sharper than Melissa's venom. Heads turned. Even the businessman in 1C lowered his phone for a second, blinking. The elderly woman in 1D stopped whispering and stared outright. Melissa laughed, though it was shaky now, the sound not nearly as confident as before. She whipped her camera back toward herself. Don't let her fool you, folks. They all say that when they're caught. Oh, I belong here. Oh, I paid for my seat. Spare me. She leaned closer, lowering her voice like she was delivering the final blow. You're not fooling anyone, sweetheart. Everyone here knows you don't belong in 2A. Ariana tilted her head slightly, almost amused. Then she reached for her phone. With one swipe, her screen lit up and the faintest smirk touched her lips. You think you're the only one who can stream? The words landed like a thunderclap. Gasps erupted again. Phones that had been aimed at Melissa now began turning toward Ariana. Passengers wanted both sides. They wanted the truth. Melissa's livestream chat spiraled. Wait, who is she? She looks important. Like really important. Bro, if she's streaming too, this is gonna be war. Melissa faltered just for a second. Her voice cracked as she said, yeah? And what are you gonna show them? You don't have proof. I don't need proof, Ariana interrupted softly, her voice steady, chilling. I have power. The live stream audience erupted. The counter leapt 1243. On to 891, 2203. Even the passengers in the cabin could feel the balance shift. Melissa's cruelty was turning against her. Ariana wasn't just another passenger. She was someone more. Someone dangerous. The countdown above the galley ticked down. 7 minutes until takeoff, and the real storm hadn't even begun. The pressure inside the cabin had turned electric. Phones hovered like vultures, capturing every second. Melissa smirked, basking in the glow of her live stream numbers. 3,421 viewers. See, folks? She laughed bitterly. They always play the victim card when they're caught. Same story, different day. Her words hung in the air like poison, and then it happened. In one swift movement, Melissa leaned forward and... smack! Her hand connected with Ariana's face. The sound cracked through the cabin like a whip. Gasps erupted. The businessman in 1C leapt halfway out of his seat, mouth open. The elderly woman clutched her husband's arm so tightly his knuckles went white. Even Melissa froze for a split second, shocked by her own boldness. But Ariana didn't scream. Her head turned slightly from the impact, her cheek reddened, but her eyes were calm. Too calm. She slowly straightened, her posture perfect, her breathing steady. Are you finished? Ariana's voice was ice. The live stream chat exploded. Oh my God, she slapped her. This is crazy. Who is this woman? She's too calm. Melissa's lips curled into a smirk again, emboldened by the chaos. Yeah, I'm finished, she sneered. Finished letting people like you walk all over first class? That's when Ariana leaned forward. Her eyes locked on Melissa with a quiet, terrifying intensity. You think this is about a seat? Her voice was low, almost a whisper, but it carried through the entire cabin. In 10 minutes, your career won't exist. Neither will the careers of half the people laughing right now. The businessman's phone nearly slipped from his hands. Passengers who had been snickering a moment earlier now sat frozen. Even Melissa faltered, her smile flickering. Oh, please, she scoffed, though her voice cracked. What are you gonna do? Call my manager? Ariana's lips curved into the faintest smirk. She raised her phone, tapped once, and a message fired off into the digital void. No, she said softly. I already called mine. The countdown above the galley door glowed. 5 minutes until takeoff, and the entire cabin realized the slap wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The cabin buzzed with whispers. The slap should have broken Ariana, but instead it felt like Melissa had just awakened something she couldn't control. Ariana's phone screen glowed in her hand. A single message, already sent, had set wheels in motion none of the passengers could yet imagine. Melissa scoffed loudly, trying to drown out the sudden tension. "What are you gonna do, sweetheart? Write a bad review? Tell customer service, please. I run this cabin." She spun her phone toward her viewers. "Look at her, y'all. Playing boss lady like she's somebody." The viewer counter ticked higher, 5,612. But for the first time, the comments weren't on Melissa's side. "She's too calm, bro. This lady's important." "I think that's Ariana Cole." "No way." "Melissa about to lose her job, live on camera." Ariana finally rose from her seat. She didn't rush. Every movement was precise, deliberate, commanding. She adjusted her blazer, the glint of her diamond watch catching the overhead light. The cabin went silent. "Melissa Hart," Ariana said, her tone flat as steel. "By the time this plane lands, you will no longer be employed by this airline." Melissa barked out a laugh. Too loud, too desperate. "Oh, listen to this. She knows my name." "What's next? You're gonna say you're the president?" Ariana's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, smiled faintly, then turned it outward. The display showed an incoming video call. The name on the screen read, CEO, Skylux Airlines. Gasps tore through the cabin. The businessman in 1C muttered an audible, "Oh, God." Melissa's smirk faltered. Her live stream chat blew up. "Wait, is that her boss?" "She called the CEO." Melissa done for. Ariana answered the call. A polished man in a tailored suit appeared on the screen, his expression stone cold. "Ms. Cole, I've received your message." "Consider it handled." He didn't even glance at Melissa. He didn't have to. Ariana ended the call and slipped her phone back into her blazer. She looked Melissa in the eye, her voice calm but lethal. 5 minutes ago, you thought this was your stage. Now it's your downfall. Enjoy the last moments of your career, because they're being live-streamed too. The countdown blinked above the galley door. 3 minutes until takeoff. The audience, both in the cabin and online, knew they were watching history unravel in real time. The jet was silent except for the hum of the engines. Phones were still raised, but no one spoke. Every eye was fixed on Ariana Cole, the billionaire CEO who had just turned a humiliation into a live masterclass in power. Melissa stood frozen, her hand trembling around her phone. The smirk was gone. Her live stream, once her weapon, had become her noose. The viewer count flashed, 18 through 329. Comments scrolled like wildfire. And not one of them was on her side anymore. "Pack it up. Melissa, she just ended your career live. This is the best video on the internet right now." The male security officer finally arrived at the row. His presence heavy, but he looked at Ariana first. Not Melissa, not the passengers. "Ariana, Ms. Cole, your instructions?" he asked quietly, like a soldier reporting to his general. Gasps echoed again. Melissa's jaw dropped. "Wait, what? Instructions? She can't." Ariana lifted her hand slightly, silencing her. Her gaze swept the cabin, taking in every passenger, every phone, every shocked expression. And then she spoke, her voice slow, precise, and cutting. "For those of you recording, let me make this simple. I am Ariana Cole, CEO of Cole Global, majority shareholder of Skylux Airlines, and effective this moment, the employer of every crew member on this jet." The cabin erupted. The businessman in 1C dropped his phone in his lap. The elderly woman in 1D muttered, "Dear God." Melissa staggered back like she'd been physically struck. No, you're lying. You can't." Ariana's phone buzzed again. She held it up, the CEO of Skylux once more on video. His voice was ice. "Melissa Hart, you and your entire first-class service team are hereby terminated. Effective immediately. Consider this flight your last." The silence afterward was deafening. Melissa's live stream captured every second, the moment her arrogance collapsed into horror. She fumbled, stammering, finally lowering her phone. The comment feed roasted her alive. Ariana sat back down, crossing her legs, her expression as calm as it had been from the very beginning. "Now," she said evenly, "let's fly." The engines roared. The countdown hit 0. Takeoff. But for the millions who would watch this story across social media in the coming hours, the real flight had just begun. Before you scroll away, let me ask you something. If you were sitting on that jet, would you have recorded it, or would you have spoken up? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm curious how you would have handled it. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. More shocking, true-to-life stories like this are on the way, and trust me, you don't want to miss the next one. Because the skies, they're full of secrets,